So, hello everyone. We're back sooner than we were last time. Um, for a quick, you know, in the middle of the major update. We missed the Pick'ems starting bit by a day, but at the end of the day, it's not over yet, and we can still talk about what we want. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess we start on where the Pick'ems went for us last time a little bit. And yeah, then we'll just quickly cover our Pick'ems this time. Um, do you want to quickly go over your last pick'ems? You got a
All right,
moment?
yeah. So my last pick'ems, I had Liquid and Mongols going 3-0. Got both of those correct. Um, I had Complexity, unfortunately, going through. I had Furia, Pain, Big, going through, and then I also had VP and Fnatic. So I had three pretty big disappointments on my going through thing, but I got the two 3-0s, and then those three bring me through. And luckily, I did not need any more because my 3-0s were Wildcard and Rare Atom, which both beat Fnatic. So I had Fnatic going through. They lost to both of my 3-0 picks and didn't make it through themselves. So on their own, they cost me 3 spots, and quite pissed about that. But ended up squeaking by with 5 picks.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was a worse story for me, honestly. Similar but worse. So I got both my 3-0s correct with Liquid and Mongols correctly predicted to beat the field. And then both of my O3s got wrecked as well. And I think FlyQuest played Fnatic first as well, to be honest. You might need you to double check that for me, but I think they actually beat both of my
Wildcard played.
three O3s or as well.
Uh, Fnatic did not play.
Okay, cap.
Complexity lost to them.
Okay, yeah. That's actually I
All
I,
right.
I remember
So the
that.
other big disappointment.
Yeah. So, basically, both of my O3s went crazy. FlyQuest particularly, although that was really sad how they went 2-0 and then just didn't make it through after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rare Atom managed to beat Fnatic in and wreck them. I had them going through 3-1, 3-2. So the other, I got two more. So I missed the five, but I got Furia to go through, and I got Big to go through, surprisingly. And I was very close to getting Passion UA through as well. I could have had been on for a read, but it came down to the wire, and they sadly went out. But yeah, honestly, pretty rough, I'd say. Virtus Pro, big disappointment. Um, yeah, I just unbelievable 1-3, just a really bad performance overall, and I don't know, continue to disappoint me more and more. As much as I was already disappointed with the lineup of this caliber doing that badly. Fnatic, that was also quite a big disappointment. I really expected a lot more out of them. I thought, Blame F and Matisse should give them a pretty good chance. Only need a little bit out of Nork, really, as well, but I don't know. It's sort of looking like Body isn't a very good caller for this team. And Crims is also just not anywhere near his prime or who he used to be. So probably looking for some changes there. And then yeah, Complexity was the other disappointment for me. I thought they had enough to make it through. I definitely was a bit wary of them. They were kind of like the bottom end of my picks, but yeah, I thought they'd have enough, but they continue their despairing performances, and we look to see what happens next with them, really, because it's not staying like this and going anywhere. Let's put it that way. So yeah, well, that was our previous one. So I got 4. Ted got the 5 that is necessary for the point towards the coin. But yeah, we'll get on to our elimination stage pick'ems now, I think.
Uh,
So you go.
this is where I would say
Yeah,
that the roles have reversed
yeah.
because right out of the bat, I'm pretty much fucked. I'm gonna need either a massive upset out of hero. Yeah, I'm gonna either need a massive upset for either Vitality to lose, or I'm gonna need Who is this matchup? Sorry. Who are our O3s tomorrow? Oh yeah, so I'm gonna either need MIBR to upset Vitality, or I'm gonna need Navi. No, not Navi. Who's our 3-0? Who's the other 3-0?
What to go to win 3-0 or to lose 0-3?
Who's in the 2-0 games tomorrow? Mongols.
So yeah,
Yeah,
Mongols.
so I'm gonna need Heroic to beat Mongols tomorrow, Garen, and I'm gonna need MIBR to beat Vitality in order for me to get any chance of having a coin on this.
Right.
Because essentially, both my 3-0s are gone immediately because I had G2 and Navi. Both of them being upset in the first round, something that I was not planning on happening. Even though for the Mongols G2 game, I had that feeling. I said it before the game, and I even actually stayed up and watched this game.
Oh no
Um,
way. That's so lame to wake up to it or to watch a fucking G2 loss all the way.
yeah, it actually got really close at the end, and they were stuck on 12 for the longest time, and I fully believed it was going overtime, and then just classic, just one round, tripped over the finish line. Like it was too much for G2 to do, and they didn't look terrible. It was just like a few horrible rounds, like particularly the second round of the game. G2 win the pistol. Team Ace actually, everyone hits some nice shots, and then next round they hit A. They get like a good timing on coming out of apps, take the site, and then Nico and Molds both jump through the smoke at Techno 4K, and he just taps them both out while they're in midair with Tech 9 right in their faces. Ends up, I believe, getting a 4K that round, true to the name, and just completely shifting the tides. And
Yeah.
from it was just scrappy from then on. G2 didn't have the economy. Like I'm really happy that they came back and won against Big. If they lost that big game, I would have been in shambles. But either way, both my 3-0s have been fucked because Navi ended up losing to MIBR somehow.
Yeah, well, that one's the crazy one to me. I don't know, like, MIBR is definitely a roster I found pretty interesting. They're actually Vitality's next game as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I need so first of all, my 3-0 picks were Vitality and Navi. So I'm also lost out on the Navi one. But my Vitality one is still alive. Um, I need Vitality to beat MIBR tomorrow. I would predict that they still would do it in a best of three. Like the best of one, I would say MIBR seemingly have a good chance, but over a best of three, I just don't. If Vitality lose it, it's a bit worrying actually for me. But yeah, no, certainly an impressive upset from MIBR. I wonder if it was just a lot of preparation. But obviously MIBR have some really good players in that team as well. Obviously Insaney, I think, is the most notable for me. Um, but yeah, definitely an interesting roster and a really impressive opening performance. But it's gonna be hard now for them. They need to start winning best. They need to win a best of three, and I'm predicting against them for this next one. But um, yeah, no, that Lukowski guy looks good as well, and Safe's been looking good on the AWP. It seems like they're a bit more able to use him than they were in Furia. So yeah, it's a roster that I'm like interested in, not necessarily just now either. Like I think potentially they could be better later on as well. Um, but I don't think they're taking down Vitality, and I really hope they're not because I'd like my 3-0 to stay alive.
In a
Um,
best of three as well.
in a best of three as well, like I have to take Vitality, right? I'd be stupid if I didn't. I feel like so. Just to run through some of my other picks quickly, my 3-1-3-2 category, I had G2, Spirit, Mouse, Phase, Heroic, and Mongols, and then my O3, I have Game Legion and Wildcard, which sucks for me right now because they both went 0-2, but they're their next matchup against each other, which means I'm guaranteed to get one, which is kind of nice, but I'm also guaranteed not to get the other at this point. But you know what? I'll take that. If I can get Vitality as the one at the top and the one on the bottom, I feel fairly confident that four of those six teams that I mentioned before will make it through. Just run over the rest of your picks quickly because I'm not sure. I think you did the 3-0s and then I think you were talking about it for a bit.
Yeah, so then I've got in my 3-1-3-2 category, I have Vitality, Spirit, Mao's, Faye's, Liquid, and Mongols. And so it seems like I'm not going to get many of these either, because it looks like Mongols and Vitality are going through 3-0. So immediately those are gone.
Sure.
So now I've got to rely on getting 4 points out of Spirit, Mao's, Liquid, and Phase, which is not that compelling
Yeah.
because this is also because in my O3 picks I've chosen Furia, and Furia upsets Spirit somehow today because I don't know what's going on. Just like I managed to squeak by the opening stage. I was feeling a bit cocky. I was like, oh, maybe my first time doing the pick'ems. I was like, oh, maybe I'll get the diamond coin first time. That'll be
Oh,
cool.
it's not so easy, huh?
And then just immediate classic CS, like the gods came in, just immediate humbling the minute you get any sort of confidence.
You think Furia should lose to Spirit opening round matchup? Well, fuck you, I
Yeah,
guess. No, yeah, literally. I mean, actually, just to highlight another one, it's actually a bit awkward for me as well because I've picked both Heroic and Mongols to go through 3-1, 3-2, but actually only one of them will, and one of them's going to go through in the 3-0 slot. So, um, most likely I'll get one of them, even if one of them loses this next game. But it sucks again that I don't get I can't get both of them in that category correct. And then I don't know. I feel pretty confident that G2 Spirit, Miles and FaZe will have at least 3 of those 4 come through. We'll
you
we'll
only need
say that.
5, so like you're at this point in time, you're guaranteed one from the O3s.
Yeah,
Assuming Vitality wins, we'll say that's guaranteed one.
sure.
And then from this 3-0 matchup or the 2-0 matchup with the liquid, that's another. So you only need 2 more. You're in
Sure,
pretty good
but that's
standing.
also like whoever loses the best of 3 has to then win one of the other 2 matches that they play after. Like, but I mean, Vitality, I think I can say that they're a pretty safe bet to win. But then also like Miles, Spirit, FaZe, and G2, they're all in the 1-1. So like, I'm also kind of relying on them not facing each other too many times as well. So like,
Yeah.
it could still go wrong. I'd say I'm pretty happy though. Like, this is probably as good as I can expect. It's a bit unfortunate some of the head-to-head games that I have that are going to cost me some spots, but I think it'll be okay. So anyway, that's who we've picked out. Just immediately, just to talk about both of our you know pick'em setups. I think the only difference in our 3-1-3-2, I think, is actually just Liquid. I've got Heroic and you've got Liquid. But I think every other team we pick, oh no, and G2 and Vitality are flipped for you. So you got them 3-0 and instead of 3-1-3-2, and I got them the other way around. So basically our top, 8 picks are pretty much the same teams though, barring Heroic and Liquid. So seems we got a, like I feel pretty confident like the favorites are the favorites here. Um I don't know, there's a couple teams I think could do something who either that have the skill to do it or are just in the form where they might do it. But certainly I think the favorites are kind of cut above, and it'll be more of a disappointment that they didn't make it than a triumph that than a lower team did, in my opinion, just based on the quality of these teams. And then for our O3 categories, I think we both put wildcard, was it? Or
Yes,
yeah.
I have wildcard in there.
And then I put Gamer Legion, and you went for Furia. You had a feeling. Um,
That feeling
so
was wrong.
a feeling that didn't work out. But okay, let's just cover a bit more. So I mean, we got an idea of what the 2-0 matchups are gonna look like. Oh sorry, yeah. We got Heroic versus Heroic is versus the Mongols, and then Vitality is versus MIBR. I'm definitely taking Vitality in that game. Heroic versus Mongols, actually really, really close. I don't know. I'd probably say performance wise, I'd say Mongols have just like yet to show that they were bad at any game this tournament. Like I think I forget how their RMR went. I think they got through flawless though. And then I think in the first stage, they also got through flawless. They were one of the 3-0s that I got. And then I think here they've gone 2-0 straight away. So they've just basically had a like untouched run. In a way, it's harder to read that because I don't know, like some of these are best of ones are, you know, like you can win a best of one and maybe your form isn't as good as it's saying because you're winning games, but they're only best of ones. So it's pretty hard to say like how good they are, but my guess is that they're very good. I think they've got to be quite motivated. This is the first Asian major we've had, and obviously for them it's as close to the home region as it can be. So I'd imagine there's some extra motivation there. But heroic, and then on the flip side, I'd say heroic wasn't actually looking very good, and have kind of like done quite well, I think, to come through here, and they look pretty good in these opening round matchups. And I just don't know what to expect from heroic. They're kind of an unknown quantity for me a little bit, actually. Um,
Um, yeah, I also think there's a caveat in their wins because they have beaten, like obviously weren't in the previous stage they went through. They were already in the elimination stage, and so far the teams that they've beaten are Big and FaZe, and they beat Big in the opening matchup, and they're big, they're a
yeah,
known quantity. They don't have
I'd
that
say
many
they looked
stars.
in better form this major, to be honest.
This
But
is one of the better times that we've seen Big,
yeah,
but they do have a ceiling,
yeah,
and that ceiling is not winning the major.
unlikely, no.
Um, so Heroic beating Big, good. They should be doing that, I would say. That's why they're already in the elimination stage. And then FaZe, they ended up matching up in the 1-0 bracket,
Yeah,
and FaZe got there by beating Wildcard, which is the majority of people's 0-3 picks.
yeah.
And FaZe didn't hasn't looked that hot in a long time. So I think Mongols are the clear favorite going into
I,
this matchup.
I'll actually clap back a little. I think while FaZe is not in a position or like good enough as a team that they would be happy with it, I would argue they're very consistent. Like they usually only lose to the teams that are genuinely considered like top 5 or 6, and then very rarely they lose to the underdog. But they pretty much consistently crush the underdogs in the games that they play. And I think it's only really the top teams that have kind of taken them out. So debatably, there's a that phase one isn't as bad as it seems, but that's kind of yet to be seen on like how well we rate the form of phase throughout this major, because
Yeah.
that they haven't we haven't seen enough to know. I'd be very curious about. I think it's Miles versus Phase in the next one, and I think Phase used to have the mental edge in that matchup, but they don't anymore. And I'm kind of curious to see like what wins out. Does FaZe like manage to kind of get ahead and then get in Miles's head again on the big stage, or does Miles manage to actually break out of it fully? Even though they've kind of broken out of it already. Like I'm waiting to see it at like a major with the pressure, you know. Um, so I'm kind of curious about that as well. Like I still expect FaZe to make it through here. I don't like they can be bad enough not to make it through, but they shouldn't be. And like, you know, they're very the one problem with them right now is just how consistent they are. Like if we were seeing those like flyer runs on the one every 4 tournaments, every 5 tournaments where they actually like win one, I actually think FaZe would be in a much more chilling spot right now anyway. I think part of the problem is they can always make a top 8 and then just never make like beat any ranked like top 6 ranked opponent when they get there. And I think that kind of is a really uncomfortable place to be. It's like if you were a new team and up and coming, that would be good. Like we'd be impressed, but because it's like FaZe are a team of champions and like really that's what they're trying to do. It's actually just the opposite. It's just so not good enough because it's like you're showing you have something, but like just nowhere near enough to actually beat someone better. So yeah, I don't know, it's curious time. I think like I think this is kind of an interesting this like to me there will be an interesting like element of what I can take away from the Mao's phase matchup, because unless Mao's look extremely flat, if FaZe wins that, it kind of gives me an indication that they're like not in bad form this tournament. They're at least in okay form. And not that if they lose to Mao's, it's really like a terrible indicator for them, but like they should still have some advantages in that series. I think like these Mao's guys have to still be somewhat intimidated by the legends that exist on that team. So yeah, I still think it's going to be a very interesting game. Just to highlight some of the other matchups we got going on. Um, who is G2 playing
They're
next?
playing 3D Max, which they actually lost to in a best of 3.
Oh,
Which I'm not worried about this game. I think this is a different G2 now. Like pressure's on. I don't think 3D Max are really that good. and also the game that they played where 3D Max did end up winning, Monacy looked not that hot. No one really looked that well on G2, and if I personally would love it if G2 would win the major, and they're one of the major favorites going through. And if they can't beat 3D Max here, then this is not the same G2 that I expect to see. So I'm fully expecting them to bring this through. But it is another contentious one. I'm less worried for this one than I was for the Mongols game, though.
That's fair. I think I would agree. Like to me, 3D Max is a cool team. Like we're only really seeing their story now a little bit, but I'm pretty sure they've been bubbling in tier two like the whole year as kind of like one of the top dogs in tier two. Like it's a French all roster, which is really cool for me. As a fan of the French teams originally. Um, and
And
yeah,
even got
I
ex G2 player on there. Lucky.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, not a memorable one, certainly, but
Yeah.
you know, he's technically, I guess, XG2, more
Yeah.
like an internship. I think he did over there, but yeah, no, I think they're definitely a team that was on the radar for me as like potential upset fuel at this major, but they actually aced the RMR and just got straight through. From everything I know, like out of all the names that are maybe lesser known, this is the biggest challenger, I feel like, and they're proving it here as well. Like this is still LAN, they're still able to win maps. I'm not so high on them. I think basically from what I can tell, like they're not necessarily carried by stars. I feel like they're kind of a unit. They've played a lot of reps in tier two. And they're quite well drilled. That's kind of the impression I get. Like I'm kind of expecting in one of these games that the talent's gonna fall through for them and they're not gonna have enough firepower actually. So I think G2 is kind of not a great matchup for that. It kind of depends. If they can find a way to shut down some of the star power in G2 or like they understand the G2 players well enough that they're countering like their sort of what do you call them? Uh tendencies and things like that. If they're able to do that, I could see a world where they can take down a G2, but realistically, that's a very low percentage chance regardless of how well they prepare. So it's I don't know. I would say G2 are pretty likely to win that. I think more than anything, Manasi on his own can win that. So it doesn't really matter what else happens in G2. You don't need that many things to go right for you. Um, so yeah, I think that should be reasonably safe. Which I will be kind of sad because I'm impressed with 3D Max to have made it to this point in the major. To be honest, long time since we've had like true all French representation at the major. To be honest. Um,
It is nice to see.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see. I'm also like I want to see who the next people coming through from France will be,
Yeah.
and
We don't have quite the same star level
no,
as like Sharks and Kenny S, but
maybe not. But
one
but the
day.
thing is, like for some of these players on this team, like you know, there's a lot of time left in your career to turn it around. Not all of them, of course. But you never know who these players might end up being. They're probably not going to be a Zywoo again. You know, you'd imagine you'd see flares of that now if that was going to be the case. But you know, they can still become a really serviceable tier one pro, um, if they
Oh,
have good
Navi's proven it.
trajectory. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's a good example. So other matchups to highlight. We've talked about those. So I guess Furia plays Liquid tomorrow. Um, it's a quite an I would say that's like reasonably like that's a close call. You know, I don't think
Worried about that one.
there's no particular like strong favorite in my view for that.
Best of one as well.
I'd say Liquid are a low favorite for me. I think if I really think about the players and the like current form of the players and things like that as well. Um, sorry, just gonna it just doesn't want to, does it? L. Yeah, I think I expect Liquid to have the stronger roster overall. Like NAF is in great form and has been the whole time. Twist is still very good. I think Yakinda's going to be shit as we expect, but probably doesn't matter that much against this matchup because Fury are definitely going to have people that aren't playing very well. As much. Like to me, it's like you got NAF, you got Twists, you know, you got a little bit of Ultimate maybe, right? And then on Furious side, you're gonna have K Serato. You're probably gonna have Yuri, and then I don't know who's the third on that team right now. Um, oh, what's his name? I know him.
On Furio.
Yeah, it'd probably be Cello, right? Cello is going to be the third most like
Skulls
resource.
is playing very well this.
Skulls is good, but he's kind of like he's a very low resource player in my view. You know, he's kind of playing more like anchor spots and things like that. So he's when he performs well, it's kind of like nice. It's a bonus, but I'd say Cello is more of the player that's probably set up to do better. So if I'm putting those three as like the ones I expect to perform, I think Liquid have a slight edge, and then like they've got like a JKS in the back line, which I don't think is like ridiculously out of form. And then Yukindot is, but then like you Fallen is probably maybe not equivalently out of form, to be fair. Like it's a bit rude to Fallen. But I don't think he's in very good form either. I'm not expecting much from him. And also, I think the worst part of it is I don't even think Furia looks that good when, like, in terms of the calling, which I would like if I'm going to have a Fallen in the team. But, you know, it is what it is. So I don't know. I still think Liquid should have the edge here. Um, Certainly, it could go either way. There's enough star power on both sides where you could see a massive pop off having a big difference in a game like this. But
I'll give it.
I'll give it to Liquid.
Yeah, I'd give it to Liquid, but more like 55-45.
That sounds
I'd
about
say.
right. That sounds about right. Um, and then we have Game of Legion versus Wildcard in the O3 matchup or O2 matchups tomorrow. I'm just gonna say I think Game of Legion's probably the better team personally. I think Wildcard's done really well to get here. Like they've had comparable performances, but I don't know. I think like I'm just a bit more on board with Game of Legion stars, and they look a bit more like players I'm going to see a lot more of in the future. I think Jaber on Wildcard looks like a player I'm going to be seeing a lot more someday. Sonic is a good player, as I remember him being. Um, and Stanislaw is calling pretty well. So hopefully, somewhere down the line, he gets another gig or he gets a rebuild with this team and he can try at it again with a better chance. But so I still think Game of Legion's technically better. They have more points where I'm kind of like this can go well for you, you know. Um, but it's kind of a who cares matchup regardless.
Yeah,
Um,
I care because I
yeah,
need wildcard to lose.
yeah, I guess so. So yeah, fuck
Joy of
it.
the pickums.
You want Game of Legion to be the better team anyhow. But yeah, any other matchups apart from that? Okay, so Mongols heroic. I think we did talk about that as well, didn't we? Um,
Yeah, I think the
did we actually pick out who we think would win that though? Because I actually don't.
Mongols heroic. I
Yeah,
think Mongols are a clear favorite. That's what I said.
really, I don't think they're a clear favorite at all. I actually would argue firepower wise, heroic should be the favorite. I have a feeling as well though that Mongols might win this one. I just have a feeling about this team that
This just feels like their tournament.
they feel like they're really on point. I think we're looking at a playoff run at some point, and more than likely they still have a chance to make playoffs here. But I could see them definitely winning this game. It would feel like it fits the narrative that they're going through right now very well. And then
Watching the G2 Mongols game,
yeah,
it was like they obviously have like very good team chemistry. They're a drilled team. They have the strats. They work together well. They're always flashing, pacing, spacing. All of it is just like very well drilled and worked together. But also, I noticed quite a few times that players like 9-10, they have the ability to break out of that system when they notice that a opportunity is presented to them. Particularly one round, I forgot exactly which round it was, but Nico was holding B alone, I believe, on Banana, on Inferno, and he was playing it from the far back. And as soon as he heard any noise, he dropped a smoke, and Malbs ran over, and they like joined up, and they had two of them in CT. And but the way that or the way that Nico threw the smoke, it was way too far forward, and it allowed 9-10 to like he noticed that it was too far forward and took the initiative to push through the smoke up onto that little half wall ledge where you could jump up on the first oranges. And then he peeked CT, took out Malbs, and then Nico was running through coffins, and he just heard him the whole way, and he just scoped up, held it, and it was just like this beautiful little piece of like engineering of opening up a situation that obviously wasn't designed. It was based off of a smoke that Nico threw. But they were in the situation, and 9-10 took the opportunity and he did it and he hit the shots and it won them the round. And it was a huge swing round. And there were so many times during that game. It is classic G2 to throw away an advantage, but I wouldn't even necessarily say that G2 were necessarily throwing away the advantage. There was a few rounds that definitely like, what are you doing?
Sure.
But a few times it was like engineered 3v5s where they just like had a deliberate thing that they knew was going to work or had confidence in going to work, and they traded beautifully going out to the site and just ended up holding it in like holding each other in crossfires, and it's just beautiful teamwork that like they could win from disadvantaged situations. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for me, it's what's cool about the Mongols team is like the part where they're drilled is like it's almost goes understated. That's been true for them for a long time, but I really feel like the talent on this roster is actually really quite good. Like Blitz is the IGL, I think, but he's quite a high fragging individual player for an IGL. I'd say 910's like I'd say he's in the top 10 right now. I don't know. He'd probably be towards the bottom end of that for me, but it feels
like
like he
players or AWPers.
Orpas, sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Not players, but I would say he's in the top 10 of Orpas for sure. Like it feels that
Oh,
way.
certainly,
He's
certainly.
definitely like quite a good one. I wouldn't say he's like superstar, but he puts up numbers. And especially against like lower ranked opposition, I think he farms quite a lot.
He
Um,
might even be top 5 for me.
I mean, I need to see a
I
result that
can't think of
supports
that
it,
many.
but
Who could you think of that's better than 9-10? There's Monacy, obviously.
Ziru,
I'd say Shiro, obviously, Zero.
yeah.
And then I'd put Brokey in there maybe
I mean,
on a good day.
debatable. I think actually, genuinely debatable. I mean, he definitely has more like big pop off moments though. I'd say maybe like a
But even
Torji.
that puts him at number 5.
Like I don't think Torji's probably not that great.
You put
Let me think.
Torji
Let
over
me think.
9-10?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. He's
Okay.
a bit more experienced as well. Like I think 910 lacks a bit of experience still. Like I think he's got the makings of a very strong player. I think he's probably one of the Asian region's strongest players we've had. Um, but I think we're kind of like waiting to see a development. Like he's not there. He's not all there for me. You know, he's kind of like a half baked player, but like with a lot of upside if he can get it all together and have like an all round game a bit more. I don't know. Let me think. Like I would have said Device, but he didn't even fucking play. Um,
Yeah,
who
Device isn't
else?
in the running for this.
Fallen isn't really going to be in that conversation.
No. If you're
Um,
saying Fallen's better than him,
no, I
I wouldn't
wasn't.
believe that.
I mean, debatably, like a safe from MIBR could be in that list.
Yeah, but that's like a discussion
Dagster
now.
from Heroic could be in that list. Like a lot of these are kind of up for debate. Actually, I'll give you
Yeah.
that. But I don't know.
So he
I
could
can't.
be top 5. He might
I
not
don't
be in
think he
your
will
top
be.
5, but he
Like
could be.
I give me some time. Maybe if next time we do this, I'll just start up by telling you the Orbers I think are better than 910 because there's no way he's fifth. Like he could be like eighth best. You know, like I don't think he's much above that.
He's certainly in the top 10. There's no doubt about that.
That's fair.
He could be in my top
I
10.
definitely think he would be for me as well. Yeah. No, so yeah, I think we're kind of agreed. Like I think Mongols look like the better team, you know, actually. If I'm talking about the heroic matchup specifically, I'm gonna say they look like the better team. Like they know how to play team Counter-Strike a lot better. They've played a lot longer together and just the way that they are, I think they look very put together in these rounds. Very clean trading, good spacing. They engineer openings in all these rounds. They have a very nice looking T side, in my opinion. So in that sense, I rank them a lot better than Heroic. I think in talent, Heroic's like undoubtedly better. Like I think very highly of the Nerds. Like I'm waiting to see what Dexter can really bring, I guess. But I also really quite rate Shush and Tessus as like support pieces. And Kixan, I'm not so sold on. Like he's not as good as Shui to me. Like as much as they were from the same kind of crop of IGLs that came through. Like I can't equate them at all. Like I don't think Kixan's there yet. Like he's trending well is maybe the best I could say, and I think that's true, but like not proven to me, you know. And but I would say you got a really couple of nice, really strong support players. You know, like Tessa's your third guy, and then you've got Dexter as like a I'm yet to see it sort of thing, but he's definitely not bad. You know, like definitely putting up okay numbers. Just waiting to see if he can really be himself, the old Dexter. And then like Nertz, I just think he probably will be the best player in the server. That's my prediction. Regardless of whether they win or lose, as long as it's not like a totally one-sided clap on both maps. Um, yeah, I think that's enough for that matchup. And then the final one, which is not a big talking point at all, so I'm sure we'll fly through it in a few minutes. Big versus Pain. What do you think of that one?
Big versus Pain. I think Pain should have it. I believe in them as a team. I don't have them going through, but I think that they. I don't have them going 0-3. I don't think. I didn't choose Big either, but like Pain, I think they're just they have a higher ceiling. They might have a lower floor than Big do, but Big's band is much thinner, if that makes more sense. They're much more
Sure.
consistent. So I think Pain, I think their style should bring them through. I think Snow is legit. Um, I really like what I've seen from him. He just seems like for a young player. How old is he? Yeah, he's 17. For a young player, he's shown great promise. He's nowhere near like Monasi or Zai were just appearing out of nowhere, or
Yeah.
Donk, but he is. He can definitely be a consistent. Like he's going to be someone that we're talking about the next few years. He's not going to drop off, I don't think.
Sure. Sure.
Big Uzera, he's seen pretty good, and NQZ, I believe, is the AWPer, right?
Uh, yes, I think so.
Yeah, and he just seems like a pretty solid. He's not like anything to write home about necessarily, but he will hit the shots that he needs to hit in the situations that he needs to hit them. And the rest of the team is serviceable, certainly enough to beat Big. So
Interesting.
I
See,
think
I'm going to
they should be
predict the
taking
other
it.
way. I'm going to predict for Big. I don't think so. Let me just highlight it. I think the potential talent on either roster is not that different from what you described in my view. Like, first of all, I think they're somewhat comparable, is what I'd start at. But I also think like Big's got more name brand than they do real talent in the server right now. And to me, Pain has more up and coming talent than they do have name power in the server right now. So they kind of sit on opposite ends of the same thing. So I rate them as equivalent. But I actually, until this event, I would never have predicted Big for this personally. I think they've been on a good run this tournament. Like, I don't think they necessarily had the easiest games. They might have had the most paper tigers though, because they took down Virtus Pro and Complexity. But I think the Complexity was in best of three. So like to me, that's like as much as I'm disappointed in Complexity, that's like fairly legitimate. Like most days of the week or most days this year, Complexity's been like the 10th best team in the world. Um, and if that ends up not being true, we'll find out from Big's form because they did beat them in a best of three, and then they also beat Virtus Pro in a best of one. It's much less important to me, but it's still a name, and they still won. I'd say like for me, like JDC looks like a really good player in this team. I think he's kind of revitalized who he is. He's not really like a reliable he's not a reliable star in the sense of like you don't really want him to be your star player, but he's definitely been performing quite a lot for this team. I think Tabson's had a bit more of a better time here as well. And I think Searson also had a better time in the like opening stage matchups as well. I don't know. I could see it. Like to me, it's kind of crazy how bad this big team has been. Like if you look at the names in German CS, I feel like this is the team you should put together. If you're looking at all of the names possible in German CS, so I've been surprised that they've been like unable to do anything really. Because I still rate like I've rated Tabson's calling for quite a long time. I think he's been quite good. I think Big have always looked quite like tactically sound and things like that. I don't know if it's just like a switch, the game switch has kind of affected the style that they used to run doesn't work the same way anymore. It's really possible, but I don't know. To me, like it's a bit of copium to be honest. Like I'm kind of wanting to see Big do something here, but I also think somewhat that their form in the tournament it so far kind of warrants. Actually, I could pick them here. They're not. It's not totally unreasonable. It's not totally unfounded, but it is a little bit of copium. You know?
Yeah, it's not a it's not a flat out win. I reckon this goes in my. I think it's going to go 2-1 to Pain. I think Big might get a map out of it. I don't, and I think these maps could be close.
Yeah.
But and Pain's not the clear favorite, but I do have them chosen going through.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, as I say, I think there's somewhat equivalent teams in where they're at currently. It's just which one do you think's really on the up? is kind of what it feels like to me because like if anything, Payne was more recently on the up, but this is the only up I've seen so far from Big, so I'm rolling with it a little bit, you know. Um, and I don't know, I still want to see players like Crimbo like do stuff. To me, Tabson isn't done yet. Like if he's going to be an IGL, I still think he's got some time to do that. Like Searson, like I'm not totally convinced on Searson, but like he's definitely the best prospect they have if they want to stay German. And I liked Rigon in that Bad News Eagles lineup, and I've kind of like I wasn't necessarily seeing so much of him being aggressive in this lineup as I wanted, as when he was playing in BNE. I feel like he played a bit more like that team played more aggressively, and maybe he was one of the slower playing guys in that team. But I would say he was definitely faster playing than he has been in this big, and I think that's maybe not ideal. Like I would like to see Rigon used in a bit more of a aggressive way than he has been. Anyway, the point is, I think they've got players that should be able to do something that I think are worthy of being someone, and I think they can do it. I think they can do it. But I think that's everything for us today. It was just a bit of a shorter video, probably not that short. It's about 40 minutes, by the looks of it, but short by our standards. Just covering the elimination stage. We will be bringing back another video as well, I believe, just for playoffs, but we'll do the whole playoff bracket as a prediction altogether. We won't predict for each match in that sense, so it's kind of like, you know, we're putting a real gamble up, right? It's no fun if we're just predicting one match at a time, right? So yeah, I think that's it from us today, but you'll probably see a video from us very soon. Anything to finish us off with, Ted?
I'm really impressed with Mongols. Just just want to have that said. Like, I think they're gonna have a good run this tournament, and they've shown me some really impressive things. And I have to say that because they beat my favorite team.
Exactly, exactly. You got to support the guys that beat you. That proves that you're really good. So anyhow, we'll see you again soon for the next episode where we will be talking about Mongols' heroic victory, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Bye.
All right.